Welcome, everybody, to Wake Up with Jenny and Friends. I am your host, Jenny, as always, and I'm so excited because I'm joined today by Randall Thompson. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. Thanks so much, Randall, for joining me today. Randall is from Dugout Mugs. I'm so excited to have you on the show. This has been a show in the making, so it finally all worked out. And I know with schedules, it's pretty hectic. So it's crazy with all the travel you must do and like all the stuff that you got going on. It's insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, COVID kind of slowed us all down, and trade shows were canceled, and all sorts of events were canceled, and uh, kind of just got tied down to home for a while, which I'm okay with. I'm more of a homebody anyway, so it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that's nice to get some time off and spend some time with the family, eh?
For sure.
Yeah. And whereabouts are you? You're in the US, right?
Yeah, I'm in Florida, and a small town called Bartow, and it's in between Tampa and Orlando. Not really much going on. The closest like bigger city is Lakeland, but just a small town in Florida.
I love it. I spend a lot of time in Fort Lauderdale. I love it.
hmm
It's really,
Yeah,
really nice there. The
it is
weather
nice
is
there.
always like spot on when I'm there, so it's a little piece of paradise.
It is. Yeah, for the secret of Florida is getting out though. So
Yeah.
a lot more people figuring out that Florida is the spot to be.
Are you finding that like a lot of people are buying up
Mhm.
property and stuff? It's getting a little overpopulated.
Yep. Yeah, it
Mm.
is.
You think it's just because of the sort of the freedom a little bit, or what people perceive to be as freedom with the whole COVID thing?
Yeah, possibly. And I think just in general, real estate's really undervalued here.
Mm.
Like if you look at real estate in New York versus real estate in Florida, what you can get for $1 million here versus what you can get for $1 million in New York is vastly nicer here. So I think people are just kind of figuring that out. No snow to deal with, no state tax. So I
Mm.
think I think a lot of people are maybe starting to migrate towards Florida because of those reasons, and then maybe the freedom that comes along with Ron DeSantis versus other type of states. I don't know. I think it's just a combination of all sorts of things that people the word is out.
The word is out. Take down the posters. The word is out. I feel like that a little bit in that. So I'm in Toronto, in Canada,
hmm
and I feel like that every time I look at. I've got some friends that live in Texas. So every time they show me, the houses that they're looking at or what they're interested in buying in Texas, it's like what they can get in
hmm
Texas for like what $1 million gets you in Toronto and what
hmm
$1 million gets you in Texas is like you're saying vastly different. It's like three times the size in Texas.
Right.
$1 million in Toronto is like, shoebox on the end of the corner of a street.
Right. Right on.
It's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
I thank you again for joining me. I'm very excited to do this show with you today. And I want to talk first off the top, about your business, Dugout Mugs. And I'm wondering if you can just sort of guide us into a little bit of the history and your sports career. And you've had such great experiences in sports. And I know you played for the Jays for a little bit. And
hmm
if you could just kind of talk to us a little bit about your story and tell us, how you came into sports and all of that, and how you dove into the Dugout Mugs.
Yeah. I grew up around baseball, kind of an unexplainable love. My dad's not overly athletic, but he kind of just got me around a baseball field when I was 4 or 5 years old and didn't want to come off of it. And I kept playing up and through high school, through college, and then professionally. Excuse me. And so when I got released in 2012 from the Toronto Blue Jays organization, kind of did a little bit of soul searching, thought I didn't need to play baseball anymore, didn't want to be around baseball anymore. And then
Mm.
maybe a year or two later, decided that I wanted to get back into baseball. So I went back to the college that I went to, and I was the pitching coach. And when I was there, the recruiting coordinator or hitting coach was taking wooden baseball bats and cutting them in half. He was creating his own training tool, and there was a bunch of loose baseball bat barrels lying around in the dugout. And I examined one and looked it over, and I thought to myself that you could probably drill that out, the top of it out, and turn it into a pretty cool drinking mug. And that's what I ended up doing, and started Dugout Mugs in 2016. Sold the first mug in 2016, and then this year we're going to sell. probably right around 400,000 units or so in 2021. So kind of a very condensed version of everything, but that's kind of the snapshot of my life in baseball and dugout mugs.
That's crazy. That's such a crazy like idea to have, to think of like hollowing out a baseball bat and using it for a drinking mug. Like that's
Hmm.
so creative. Have you always been that creative?
I like to think so.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed daydreaming, I guess, as a kid, and then I've always enjoyed business concepts and business ideas from a young age as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of the guy that was always coming up with concepts in the dugout growing up. Um, and yeah, so I'd like to think that I've always had a creative itch, that's for sure. And yeah, I'd like to think that I've always had that inside of me.
Were you ever interested in anything other than baseball growing up? Like, were you interested in
Mhm.
any other sports or in the business field? It was just solid baseball.
Yeah, it was baseball all the time for me, and that's kind of in my personality.
Mm-hmm.
That when I get like a faction, when I get really like into something, or I get really focused on something, I don't really go left or right. I just really just stay focused on that thing. Um, yeah, I mean, even today, I have both feet into the business, and I really don't have any hobbies outside of that. Um, and it's like I've tried to get into sports, I guess. Like I would want to watch football on Sundays or Saturdays
Yeah.
and turn it into a thing, but I just can't. I just can't get into it. I don't sit still very well, and my
Mm,
mind doesn't really rest overly
mm.
great. So I just and I'm good with it.
Yeah,
Might as well have, if you're gonna swim, you might as well jump in, right?
exactly. And tell me a little bit about your experience, if you can, if you want to, if you will, about playing with the Jays, because that's our home team.
Hmm.
So that's kind of cool. Um, and what all that was like.
It was a strange experience for me because, like I said, I grew up loving the game of baseball, and the best way I've heard it put that really resonates with me is you use the game your whole entire life, you use the game of baseball your whole entire life to better yourself. And then when you get to professional baseball, the game starts using you to better itself.
Mm,
And it's it's just a tough pill to swallow because uh, you know baseball and you love baseball in a certain way, and then the business aspect of it shows up whenever it turns into a business. It's professional baseball. You're getting paid to play.
mm-hmm,
And I mean, there's just certain things that happen once that starts happening in baseball, and it kind of just changes things. And I mean, I look back on it now, and I was 22 or 23, 24-year-old kid.
mm,
I could have probably appreciated it a little bit more, that I had the opportunity to work my whole life to get there and do that. And that's what I wanted to do. Um, but I was a little nearsighted, and I kind of had a chip on my shoulder. And I look back on that now and I say, but at the same time, if everything doesn't shake out exactly the way that it did, I'm probably not sitting here right now having this conversation. And I'm really, really proud and happy with where my life is. So it's all worked out in my own unique way.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe everything works out as it should. Um,
Mhm.
but do you think that's part of that confidence though, is having that, you call it a chip on your shoulder, but do you think you kind of need that to a certain degree to get as far as you do when you're in a really competitive atmosphere in a sport like that?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I think you need to channel something.
Yeah.
Uh, it could be a chip on your shoulder. Um, I mean, any narrative that you really tell yourself. I heard something the other day that I liked a lot, and it's kind of true to this. Is that uh, the story that you tell yourself shapes your perspective. Your perspective doesn't shape the story that you tell yourself.
Mm.
And so, like, you kind of got to continue to feed yourself a certain story to have that competitive edge, to have the perspective that somebody's like after your lunch. Um,
Yeah.
um,
Right.
yeah, but you have to channel in some ways, but along the way, and this is what I love coaching college guys about, or this is why I love coaching college guys, is they felt like they needed to be perceived a certain way on a baseball field in order to find success, to where you're going to find your most success in anything that you do in your life, whether it's in a competitive baseball field or it's in business or just creating friendships or relationships, is just be yourself. And
Mhm.
and then the success comes along with that, when you're the closest version of yourself at all times. So yeah, I definitely do think there are times in your career that you have to channel your inner asshole in order to
Yeah.
make things work.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be all the time.
Yeah. That's a good point. How much does like so I know for me for a long time I did like a lot of acting and stuff like that and theater and whatever and sometimes you have to get really comfortable with rejection too, which is I think a hard pill to swallow for especially a lot of young kids. When you're younger, it can be really tough. But the thing about rejection is like it's not really necessarily about you. It's about what they're looking for. So you might be a great talent, but you might not have like the right look that they're looking for a part, or the right, tonality to your voice for the right part. How and that's kind of, comes into the politics and the scenes and everything. How much does that play into sports? Like when you're up in that professional league, and it becomes sort of like what you're saying, becomes the business part, right, of it. How much does the talent differ from like the money and the politics? How does that play into it?
Yeah, but the money definitely. I mean, guys that are performing out there are investments before they're anything else, and in the eyes of the
Mm,
people that are making decisions. I always thought it would be a fun exercise to, when spring training rolled around. There was just everybody just got a jersey, and it wasn't necessarily your jersey. But if I was a right-handed pitcher, and then there was a first rounder that got $6 million to sign, and I was wearing his jersey, and he was wearing my jersey, and everybody that was making the decisions. I mean, this would never happen, but
right, right, right.
the
Yeah,
idea of it is the
right.
people that were making the decisions, that they would uh, know to either look past the name or
Mhm.
see if it changed their perception of the person that's out there pitching. I
Yeah.
thought that would be a fun exercise to really get an understanding of who is deserving and who is not deserving, whether the
Mhm.
money's associated or not with the person. Um,
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I'm
even know
sure
if
there's
that
lots
answered
of
the
people
question,
that
but
are like, sorry?
I don't know if that answered the question, but
Well, yeah, no, I was going to say because I'm sure, yeah, and I'm sure it's different, it's subjective, but I'm sure there's probably people in your opinion, and I'm not going to dare ask who, but I'm sure there's probably people that you've seen over the years that you think, are not as good players or as good a talent, but are making, money or getting, favorable treatment. And I think that's probably where the politics part comes into it, right? I guess that
yeah,
plays into it.
yeah. I mean, the beautiful thing about my situation is that I've accepted it, that like there's a lot of guys, and guys that I used to be really close with, that just couldn't get over it.
Mm,
Uh, and where I think I was so blessed was, I showed up for such a short amount of time that I never really got a really deep feeling in my gut that I was going to make it, like I was going to be the guy. Um, and that ended up being my biggest blessing, is that I never had this false hope that
mm,
that at the end of the rainbow there's this huge pot of gold for me in professional baseball, to where a lot of guys that I played with or grew up with, they spent 5 or 6 or 7 years trying to get to that pot of gold,
mm,
and they kept thinking that they were really really close to it, or they were just almost there, and then it's ripped away from you, and you have no idea who you are as a person.
mm,
You still think it's within grasp when it's just completely gone. and a lot of guys turn to drinking. At least in my experience. Um,
Well,
and
they
I
can buy all
feel,
your mugs now. So,
yeah, that's true. That is very true. That's a,
do
that's
you
a,
think do you think it would have made a difference if you had had that mindset? Because you did get pretty far. I mean, do you think it would have made a difference if you had that kind of, you know, mindset? You
like,
were all in, having that it's going to be, that reaching for that goal. Um,
yeah. And I think I did, like, going into it, I did, but I quickly realized that, like, this is a game that's rigged for me not to win.
okay.
And I think me leaning into that, and whether that's true or not, or like, I think me leaning into and having faith that that's what it was, I think
Mm.
that just brings me peace. And so it might be a lie, but at least it's a lie. It's a story I'm telling myself that is shaping my perspective, and
Right,
so
right.
uh, proves that statement to be true.
What's the sort of, because you were in it really young, you said in your 20s, and is that kind of sort of like the prime age for sports is, 20s, early 30s? Like what's the kind of the cap nowadays for people in professional sports age
Unless you're an
wise?
out, unless you're an outlier, like 32 or 3 or 4 is kind of old in sports. So
Yeah.
like getting into the system in between 16 and 18 years old, and making your major league debut by the time you're in your mid 20s, and you're kind of out of it within 5 to 8 to 10 years.
So
But
there's
there's
always
some
kind
guys
of
that,
this in the back of their mind, I think probably maybe, is that you're going to have to eventually have another business or something else to go to after sports, right? Is that fair to say?
no, that's, see, that's the problem, is that, like, a lot of guys think that where they are, where their feet are now, is like where they're going to be forever. And
Really?
even though, yeah, even though, like, that even at the height of your career, and like, even if you have a long career, the career, I was just golfing with a guy that made millions of dollars, and got released when he was 33 years old, had an 8-year career in the big leagues, and he got out, and he said he traveled a bunch, he went on a bunch of cruises, he drank a bunch, and then after like 2 or 3 years, he goes, okay, well, now what the hell do I do? And he was 36 years old, and like,
Yeah.
you get your identity so tied into the game of baseball that even though the writing is on the wall that it's going to end for you at some point, it's still, you don't look beyond where your feet are
Mm.
currently, and it comes back and bites you. Some do, but very, very rarely does that happen.
And I guess they don't really prepare you for that. They don't really prepare you for life after ball or life after sports, right? They just,
Mm,
it's kind of just a machine in essence.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. And then you went on to coaching, which, how was that experience for you?
Well, I quickly learned that coaching wasn't playing. I really enjoyed it. I
Mm.
really enjoyed working with, it was like a group of 16 pitchers that, every single day I got to work with them and kind of help them think for themselves, something that I wish a coach would have done with me a little bit more,
Mm.
instead of being so reliant on the schedule that I was. I'd walk up to a cork board, I'd look at a cork board, and I'd know what I was doing for the day. For the first like 30 days of me coaching, anybody that came and asked me a question, I would say, I don't know. What do you think? And ultimately, just trying to get people to think for their own careers, listen to their own bodies, listen to their own minds, and make some decisions on what's best for them in that particular day. But I really enjoyed coaching, but not so much that I wanted to stick around and do it for the rest of my life. So I said, on to something different.
And then you saw a bat cut in half, and it all started from there.
Yeah, that's what did it.
So
Yeah.
you're looking at this bat and you're thinking, that's a half a bat. What could I
Mhm.
do with a half a bat?
Mm.
Well,
I don't know if that's really I mean, it's just really just a bat barrel sitting in a dugout. I pick it up and I kind of just look at it. On baseball bats at the top, there's a natural cupping. They kind of cup the top of it a little bit to help
yep.
with the weight distribution, I think. And And I just thought to myself, maybe that cupping can just, I mean, it's called cupping.
Yeah.
I wonder if that cupping can just keep going down and turning that into a cool drinking mug. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking like, what can I do with this? It just kind of just hit me, just a light bulb moment.
That's so awesome. And then you started Dugout Mugs.
Started Dugout mugs.
Started
Yeah.
Dugout Mug- And where did you start? Did you start selling just like around
Facebook ads is where
Facebook
it,
ads? Yeah.
yeah. So it was 2016 is when I sold my first one. Like in 2015, I started noticing like t-shirts pop up on my Facebook feed of saying like, Thompson's know best or something like that. And like other just really micro niche stuff where like they were selling t-shirts to engineers. And I said, oh, that's really interesting that like somebody's creating these things that people otherwise would never be advertised and sold to. Um, and I thought that was pretty cool. And interestingly, my business partner ended up being like the leader in that space. Uh, but yeah, and I just thought there was a huge opportunity to sell things on Facebook.
Mhm.
Uh, and so that's where I started.
That's phenomenal. And it's turned into this seven-figure business, which you guys have had like, 3 times the growth every year.
Hmm.
And you've done really, really well. And did you ever think it would go this far?
I mean, maybe I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I don't do a very good job of reflecting. I kind of like reject the reflect.
Yeah, you got to put that on a mug. Reject the reflect.
Like- yeah, I used to be a just a like a reflect machine to where it just kind of actually kind of just paralyzed me from actually doing anything. Like every bit of me is wants to be insightful, and I want to be a thinker, and uh, like I don't want to be a thinker, but I just am a thinker, and I like to think about things and philosophize about things. And
Mhm.
the problem with that is it's not conducive to doing. It's more conducive to procrastination. Um, so I've almost built up this default in myself that like anytime that somebody wants me to get reflective, I kind of just like, I don't know. I don't, and I feel like when I get through dugout mugs and build it to a level that I want to build it at, and I feel like I can take my hands off the steering wheel. Um, I think I'm going to spend a lot of time reflecting, and I'm going to have a lot of discoveries about a bunch of different things. But until then, I don't know. I don't know if I ever thought that it could get to the level that it's gotten to.
Well, you've done pretty amazing, I have to say. You're available in all of the stadiums,
Hmm.
all the major league stadiums. And do they sell your mugs right in the stadium? You can buy them right there too.
Yeah, they're in all the team stores.
All the team stores everywhere.
Yeah,
It's phenomenal what you've done. Like, not just, just you as a person, as an individual, to build a business like this. It's really phenomenal. It's a talent and it's a gift that a lot of people don't pursue. So, I mean, you've got to be quite proud of yourself.
I think so. I mean, really, it's taken an army of people to do it. Obviously, it starts with one,
Hmm.
um, but really, I don't think it would ever caught the stride that it's caught, or the scale that it's caught without certain people that have made it happen along the way. And yeah, of course, I guess that was the spark to the thing that started this whole thing. But at the same time, I'm, I guess what I'm most proud about, if I really think about it, I'm most proud about that. Um, Somehow along the way, we've built this to 70 or so people make this go around, and we've kind of turned it into a self-regulating weed out the bullshitters
Hmm.
machine, to where
Yeah.
like hiring becomes so much easier. It eventually gets to a point where I do look like a genius because the organization is such a good is such a great culture.
Mm.
But really, what's happening is that we throw people into the ecosystem of things, and if they suck, then the majority of people just say, "Hey, this person's got to go." they suck. And then that's how we continue to be able to just grow a really good team and just the business to grow in a really big way. But yes, it does start in the very beginning of just setting the example of how things should be and how we should be going about our business. And that kind of just breeds a really good culture that ultimately breeds a thriving business, I guess.
Well, we won't reflect too much on that, but that parlays that parlays kind of nicely into my next set of questions, which is like strategies or tips for success in business. Like, what do you feel has been like, creating that culture is one thing, but what do you feel has been sort of your keys to success? Because you can't just start up a business, like just say, oh, I'm going to just make something and post it on the internet and
Yeah.
hope people will buy it. Like, what are some things that you've really learned in doing this process, which is it different than sports? Is business different than sports in some aspects, or is it quite similar in the end game?
I think you can find correlations between baseball and most things in life,
Mm.
especially business. Um, but I guess if I did like the key takeaways would be like for me when I watch what our business is doing versus like sitting back and watching other businesses, um, a lot of times like it pains me because people the mentality of never quitting. I love it. I grew up with it. My dad was a an advocate of never letting me quit anything, and it's built a lot of grit for me. And but the problem is, um, I think Mr. Wonderful is a Canadian,
He is
Kevin O'Leary.
Kevin
Um,
O'Leary.
what I like about him is that he understands that quickly the market will tell you whether it's a market fit or it's not a market fit, and if it's not, uh, just stop.
Yeah.
Like you don't like, and that's the problem is like when you listen to a lot of other people, and I love to consume information within reason.
Mhm.
I don't read, but I'll listen to some podcasts every once in a while, but I don't really like to consume a whole bunch of information because it kind of just confuses you
You
on
go
what
down the
you know
rabbit
in your
hole.
gut to be. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what to be true in your
Mm.
gut, um, and you just have too many voices talking to you, um, and then that just creates all sorts of confusion and procrastination. I call it progressive procrastination, where you
Mm.
think you're moving forward, but you're really not. And but anyways, tangent to just say that
It's like a country song. Got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
yeah, it is, isn't it? um, Well, yeah. So just, I mean, I guess a really long tangent to say, like, listen to the market. The
Yeah.
market's not going to lie to you. If you put something in front of people and they take action on it, you got something. If if you keep doing that and nobody's wanting to take action with it, maybe rethink a concept that you want to bring and show to the masses. Um, so that would be the first thing. And then once you find the the last thing would be once you find something that people want, you want to find something that has a very minimal amount of input but lots of output for distribution. So
What do you mean by
Facebook
that?
ad
Mhm.
well, Facebook ads would be a perfect example of that. Of you can set up a whole bunch of Facebook ads, ad groups, and all sorts of things, different uh, creatives. It's a minimal amount of time that you're going to put into getting that all set up, but when you go to start distributing these Facebook ads, you can distribute them to the masses very quickly.
Mm.
And so if it's a product that somebody wants or a service that somebody wants, and you have a distribution model that is minimal input, but lots of output, and you throw that thing into that minimal input, you quickly can grow your output very fast. I mean, there's manufacturing, there's all sorts of other things that go into this equation that will drive you crazy. But
Yeah.
the point, the point is market fit, minimal input, maximum output for distribution, and you might have something. Would be my top two strategies for trying to find success in business.
Well, I'm
And
sure
then
that's
everything
fun.
else in between, you just figure it out as it goes. Like nobody knows,
Yeah.
like legitimately nobody knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
so you
it's
just
so
figure it
true.
out.
It's so true because it's not like there's like a magic pill or a magic secret. Like everybody, even people who are successful today, had to figure it out somewhere, had to start from somewhere. Like
Mhm.
everybody who's done everything in life started somewhere. You got to figure it. There's a certain degree of like sucking it up and figuring it out. And, I think that's like, we debate this a lot, like on, Instagram and TikTok and with followers and algorithms and stuff like that. Friends of mine or people who just start watching the show and whatever, and they're like, how do you get I'm like, I have no idea how the whole thing works. I'm not the person to ask about that. Like, I post stuff and then you like it or you don't. Like it just, I think it can like drive you nuts trying to figure out like a trend or a hashtag or an algorithm or those kinds of intricate things, which I don't think, to be honest, at the end of the day, and I could be wrong, I don't know, but I don't think we really have control over a lot of that stuff. Um, I think, when you're doing things like you said with minimal input and massive output, I mean, those are excellent strategies, right? But for like the everyday just, person who's just trying to get a couple of hits on their channel or whatever, like I don't think it's really something that's tangible to try to figure that out.
No, no, I would actually agree with you. Yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of shots fired, you got a whole bunch of shots in the back of your shelf there. Are those your favorites?
Um, these are kind of just kind of. I took a shed and I converted it into a home office, and
Nice.
these are kind of just I don't know, things that kind of were just laying around and just kind of there's no.
Nothing special. Just
I'm still
crap on
working
my
on it.
wall.
I'm still working on it. So like I think at some point back here I'm gonna like probably put like my college mug and like and maybe try to make it more like in a line with me. But as of right now, it's kind of just placeholders, I guess.
Just wasteful. Have you made a mug that's been really sentimental for you? Have you done something that you've really loved for yourself?
Uh, um, so I mean, in the very beginning of this, I was doing a mug of the month,
Mhm.
and this was like in our first 6 months of being in business, um, and I think it's November. It's either October or November. That's Heart Association Month for people with
Hearts.
cardiac, yeah,
Yeah.
cardiac issues and stuff. My
Mhm.
mom is just a long line of family history of having heart issues. So I did like a uh, a baseball heart with laces on it, and did
Aw.
like a little blog entry for my mom. That's the first that's the first
Aw,
thing that
that's
pops
so
up in my mind.
sweet.
Yeah, yeah,
Can see it on your face. You're proud of that. I bet mom was proud of that.
yeah, yeah. I probably need to bring that back at some point.
How many times have you actually watched Field of Dreams? I just want to know. Asking for a friend.
Ah, Field of Dreams. A handful of times. There's more. There's baseball movies I've watched more than I have Field of Dreams, but I've watched it probably 5 times.
Do you enjoy going to games now? Do you go to many games now being out of it? Do you enjoy that, or you're like, ah, fuck it, I don't want to be a part of that anymore?
I enjoy it. Yeah. It depends though. It depends on if it's business. I don't really like going to baseball games and there's a business tied to it.
Mm.
Like there's been opportunities for us to go to the National Baseball Hall of Fame and do some business stuff up there and sell mugs and other stuff. There's opportunities that kind of get brought up to us that are baseball centric, that are bucket list items for me that I don't want to go and do because I don't want to have business pulling at me when I just want to enjoy uh, going to these things for the very first time. So I enjoy I enjoy baseball games as long as there's no business that's tied into it. Like I'm not there for a business reason. I'm just there to actually watch the game and enjoy the game. Then yeah, I enjoy it.
And I don't know if you have any kids, but do you have any other family members that are involved in sports or that go to? games and stuff like that? Is that a connection for you and your family?
No, I don't have any kids. My wife and I will go to games. And uh, no, I mean, it used to be a thought in my mind that I would go to all 30 ballparks with my dad.
Hmm.
So maybe that eventually will happen. But as of recently, no, I don't think my dad got really pissed at the game of baseball after I got released. So I don't think my dad's been to a baseball game since I got released. Um, and he's as hard headed as they come. So he'll probably never go back to a
He'll
baseball game.
just shit all over baseball now.
Yeah.
He's a hockey fan now.
Right. Yeah. Never mind. Your son is excelling in the business world within baseball, but forget baseball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How did you make that? What was the key for you to make that transition so smoothly? Because it seemed like you really. It seems to me like what you're saying is you had a lot of initial acceptance for not being in the game or a part of the game and just quickly moved on,
Mhm.
which I think is really hard for a lot of people, but you seems like you did it so beautifully. Sorry, I have dogs in the background that are super annoying. Sorry if you heard
That's no
that.
problem. Yeah, no problem at all. I think one of the like things that I've been blessed with is I've always been pretty certain on who I am and who I want to be. Um, and I never really knew, like I knew I liked business concepts or like the thought of like businesses and business. I studied business in college, but it didn't really like I wanted to switch to communications because I wanted to be a writer. Um, but uh, but I knew I wanted to be creative. I knew I liked business. There's like a little bit of a bio that you have to fill out whenever you first enter into college for the website, and it said I wanted to play professional baseball, then start a business. It's just kind of one of my blessings of in life, and I know a lot of people struggle with this. Is that for as long as I can remember, I've felt very secure and sure of who I am, and very secure and sure of who I want to be. Um, and uh, it's kind of just translated well in my professional career, and I think that's how the transition was just so graceful.
Where did that come from, do you think? Were you like that as a kid, or did you develop that over time?
Um, Man,
Well, I won't make you think too much on it. I don't want
yeah, I don't know.
to. Let's not reflect on that.
Yeah,
You're just good
I
at
don't
moving
know.
on.
Yeah. I mean, if you really make me think, I'll sit here in silence for like 9 minutes. So,
Well, let's move on to some of our little. We like to have a few little games in every show, a few little top 10, top 3, top 5, some questions, whatever. But we're looking at our 3 best moments in sports. What are yours, sir?
um, like if you refer to moments as like one particular moment, Mark McGuire when he broke Roger Maris's home run record, I was like 10 or 11, maybe 12 years old when that happened. Baseball was kind of dying, and then baseball came back in a big way. And there was this race between Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire to break Roger Maris's home run record.
Yep.
Um, and I remember being just like obsessed with Mark McGuire. And I look back on that now, I'm like, okay, it's kind of weird that I like was like a little kid just crushing on Mark McGuire, but
Get
I
his
think
posters on your wall.
I did have a
Did you
Mark
really?
McGuire present. And you know what's funny? Maybe not funny, I don't know. But my dad has like a home bar now, and that poster is in his home bar. But he took like a
Aw.
syringe looking thing and he just stuck it in his butt to make it look like he's taking steroids. Um,
Yeah, he did get himself in a little hot water, didn't he?
yeah, but I mean, everybody did.
Mm.
Everybody was doing it. He's just kind of, he's him and Jose Canseco ended up being just the poster childs of that
All right.
era for steroids. But yeah, when Mark McGuire broke Roger Maris's home run record was a pretty awesome moment. Um, Cal Ripken Jr. becoming he was the Iron Horse, where he beat Lou Gehrig's consecutive game streak. I'm not going to be able to pull the number out of my ass here, 2130 or something like that. But I remember when he broke it, he was running around at I think he was at Camden Yards, and he was just high fiving everybody around the perimeter of the baseball field. That's a record that I don't think anybody's ever going to break. And it was pretty special. And I grew up a huge Cal Ripken Jr. fan. And then let's just go with let's go. This is
It
kind of a
doesn't have to
wild.
be baseball related. It doesn't have to be baseball related.
I don't really know any other sports
Okay.
really. um, but I would say maybe uh, the the series that went on against the Cubs and the Indians in 2016, where it went 7 games into the World Series, and the Cubs broke the curse after 108 years of not winning a World Series, or even '04 when the Red Sox came back and beat the Yankees, and to break a curse for 86 years.
That's
So
insane.
I don't know. There's just so many different things that come to my mind that I have so many good memories of watching, and but there's 4 or 5 for you, or 3 maybe. I don't remember
I
how many.
love it. I love it. Well, mine are not all baseball related, but the top of the one, first one is Joe Carter winning the World Series for us. It was
Mhm.
amazing.
It was the early '90s, I believe, or
Yeah,
'93 or '92,
93.
'91.
And car horns did not stop going off in the city for like 2 days. It was phenomenal.
It's
It
nice.
was like one of the greatest moments, I think, especially for the city. You know, the hometown city is always like so proud, right?
Hmm.
But WrestleMania 6, I don't know if you're a big wrestling fan, but
Kinda,
a child of the 80s. Whoop
yeah.
whoop. When Hulk Hogan went against Ultimate Warrior, that was
Yeah,
some shit went down. It was good.
yeah.
It was a good game. It was a good
That's sick.
match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching those games with my those matches with my papa, and that was like our time. Like every Saturday and Sunday, they would have wrestling on, and I mean, no better time than that.
Hmm.
And the last one probably for me was the 1999 Gretzky's farewell game. I don't know if you follow hockey at all, but
A little bit.
yeah, that was another great moment. Great moment. Um,
Yeah. Hockey's a religion in Canada, so I guess
yeah,
that makes sense for you guys. For you.
hockey and coffee. Yeah, that's what we do.
Is it, what is it? Hortons?
Tim Hortons.
Tim
Yeah.
Hortons. Yeah.
Do you? I hear there are a few in the states.
I've never been to one,
Yeah.
so
Well, all right. Thanks.
there is. If you're a Hulk Hogan fan though, and you're in Florida,
The
over
beach
in
shop.
Clearwater, there's Hogan's Beach. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I can't. I'm so excited. I can't wait to go there. And he's there a lot, I hear. He's there
yeah,
often.
yeah,
So that's probably on my list is to go there and meet him and get a Oh my God, can you imagine? I just had a moment. Can you imagine getting a picture with Hulk Hogan at the beach
yeah.
shop? Oh,
Yeah, he's a stud.
that would be epic.
It'd
That
be
would be
fun.
epic. Oh, doggy helicopters. Sorry. I have some questions for you. I don't know if you have
Mhm.
questions for me, but I have some questions for
Yeah,
you. Here we go. Rapid fire questions. Favorite candy?
Reese's.
Oh no, you didn't say Reese's, did you?
Is that a bad thing?
Well, we say Reese's, and this is a long-standing debate with Americans and Canadians.
Oh, really?
Reese's.
Reese's
Reese's. The pieces or the cup?
cup, big cup.
Yeah,
More peanut butter, the better.
exactly. Exactly. Is that your favorite
Yeah,
combo? That's my favorite combo, peanut butter and chocolate.
yeah. Well, really, peanut butter, anything I just love.
Very nice. If you could change, if you could change one rule in sports, that exists currently,
Hmm.
what would it be?
Oh man, I'd get rid of the DH and or I would add the DH to the NL.
Oh,
So pitcher hitting, I'd get rid of it.
interessante.
Yeah,
And why would that be?
it just doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Pitchers are just they're guaranteed outs. They're trying to figure out a way to make the game more entertaining. Uh, they're trying to figure out how to speed up games. Just get pitchers out of there. They don't need to be hitting. They don't even take it serious anyways. So get them out of there.
Bunch of coconuts.
Bunch of coconuts for
Bunch
sure.
of coconuts.
Yeah.
Whiskey or vodka?
Uh, depends. Depends on where I'm at, what I'm doing. I tell my wife all the time that I feel like I get better and better with more Tito's that I have. And it feels like it's the only thing I can drink. That and vodka tonic and lime. I feel like I could drink it all day and then just wake up and like nothing ever happened. Um,
Wow.
but but I do love bourbon and fire and ice. Just want a big cube of ice. I love old fashions.
Mm.
Um, so if it's nighttime and I'm with a group of friends or I'm just trying to relax, or I'm near a fire, then I'm drinking bourbon. If I'm on the beach or kind of doing like a marathon of a day, we went to game three. Me and my business partner and a couple guys that work with us went to game three in Atlanta. We got there at 9 a.m. and I just drank vodkas pretty much the whole day, and it was perfectly fine. But if I would have tried to done that with bourbon, it would have been a disaster. So,
One, two, nighty
uh,
night.
what's that?
1, 2, nighty night.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Are you ready for your questions?
I am, but I wanted to ask you though, just before
Okay.
we get to that, because we're talking about alcohol, and this might be a stupid question,
Hmm.
but does do the drinks taste differently in your mugs because they're wood? Does it
Mm-mm.
change the flavor profile at all of
No.
the? No. Okay.
No. Well, that was one of my dad's like initial objections to this whole thing. He was saying that I'm an idiot because nobody's going to want to drink from wood, and uh, it really changes nothing.
Hmm.
The taste of it is the taste of it. There's nothing that changes.
Cool. All right, I am ready, sir.
All right. Is there an underground mall in Toronto?
An underground mall. Well, we have sort of underground shops in the subway stations. Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
I thought there was like this underground mall that attaches to some sort of hotel that, but maybe it's more common. So you can't build anything underground in Florida. So it kind of anytime that anything's underground, it kind of
Because it's
throws me
swampy.
throws me for a loop. Yeah, it's so low to sea level that if you just start digging, you just hit water. So it's impossible to build underground. No basements here.
Oh, yeah. No.
Success. What does it mean to you? How do you define success?
Hmm. Freedom, joy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of cliche, but when they say if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life, and that's it's kind of true. I mean, I'm kind of doing that now. So full time, I'm a therapist. I run my own clinic during the day, and then at nights and on Mondays I film and I post the show, and it's for me it's a good balance because it's the day job is so serious,
Hmm.
and the show is kind of just a little bit of bunch of fuckery every now and again. It's just fun, and it's just
Right.
chatty, and it's a great balance for me. So
Hmm.
um yeah, I love what I'm doing now. So that to me is it's fun, it's freedom, success.
Yeah. The pendulum always swings, doesn't it? And
Mm,
if you don't allow it to, it'll figure out a way to do it in a really bad way.
that's absolutely correct, sir. Yeah.
Um. Okay. And coffee. Uh, black coffee, or you like to throw cream, sugar? What do you got? How do you drink your
I
coffee?
like to throw gold in my coffee. No. Um, I'm hooked on Widowmaker coffee right now. It's
What
a
that is.
company out here in Ontario. Their coffee is great,
Mhm.
and Rampage coffee is really great too. But I love just black coffee. Just drink it black, just straight black. Yeah.
It's one of the I feel like it's one of the blessings of my life is I grew up watching my dad drink black coffee,
Mhm.
and just the amount of how it could quickly become a really bad habit of drinking a lot of coffee if every single time you need to scoop up 20 spoons of sugar and put it into a coffee. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I love black coffee.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. Um,
It is.
Let me ask you probably the most burning question on everyone's mind, and I don't think I'll get away with not asking you this. What do you really think of A-Rod?
Alex Rodriguez. Um, uh, well, one, I hope he has a Rod Corp, so I hope at some point he comes and knocks on Dugout Mug's door and says, "Hey, uh, ready to buy that from you." And
Mhm.
I think it would be a good strategic buy for him.
I mean, yeah, you know, great
I, I
strategy. Yeah.
I think he has a history of uh I mean, he was. You could make an argument that he was. Uh, he was one of the best baseball players of all time. I mean, a shortstop that hit over 500 home runs or 600 home runs. I think. I think he might be like number 4 or 5 in the all-time list or something like that. Something crazy. And I don't think you really meant this question literal, but I'm giving you the literal answer here. Questionable relationship decisions. It seems like his
Mhm.
in his track record, and I think he's just I think he has a controversial personality to him that people kind of that he quite possibly rubs people the wrong way. For me, I don't really mind A Rod, but never really met him. But
Yeah.
if he wants to come by Dugout Mug, he's more than welcome to do that.
Yeah. So we're on team Jen and Ben then now is what we're saying.
Are they together?
They so are together.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So they broke up and then she went back to Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Is that how
I
it went
well
down?
I think
Hmm.
I think A-Rod had some, as you say, questionable things going on, and they broke up, him and Jen, and then I think Ben was just like waiting for the waiting to get
Right.
back in. Which, I mean, it's J-Lo. She's gorgeous. Like, come on. I mean, how can you not stand by and you know wait for that
Yeah. It's
opportunity?
yeah. It's kind of crazy. It doesn't seem like she really ages. So
Yeah, it's
it's
ridiculous. She
nuts.
probably drinks a lot of black
Mhm.
coffee out of dugout mugs. Is her secret.
I think that is the secret.
Just saying. Another selling point. Dugout
Nice
mugs.
plug.
They're anti-aging.
Not guaranteed.
Rumor has it, sir, you have a tip of the day.
Yeah, I do.
Let's
It's
hear
the
it.
same. It's the same tip of the day that I would if you asked me tomorrow, and it's kind of turned into my life's motto, is keep the faith. So faith doesn't have to mean like woo woo God in the sky, or it can really mean anything that you want it to mean. Just ultimately, just keep the understanding that everything that's going on in your life in this very moment is happening for a reason, and that reason will be more clear tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And you keep zooming out, and then something or someone or something is going on that's got your best interest in mind, and you just have to have faith in that. And if you don't, then you really have nothing. So keep the faith would be my tip of the day.
At least, if not in anything else, at least in yourself, right?
For sure.
I love that. Well, I have had a blast doing this
Yeah, me
show.
too.
I've had a lot of fun. I feel like I have 1,000 questions for you, but I know I've made you pathologize for this whole
Yeah, I'm
hour.
gonna sleep like a baby tonight. Just brain just rattling.
And then make you high dose on some melatonin there, but Thank you so much for co-hosting the
You're
show
welcome.
with
Thank you.
me today. And I mean, just go for it. Give us it all. Promote the hell out of yourself. Where can people find it? Where can we get your stuff? What can we do? What can we say? Where can we find you?
Yeah, if you so it should be pretty simple, dugoutmugs.com. And then we're pretty much anywhere that social media exists. Same thing. If you just search out Dugout Mugs, you can find us. I'm on LinkedIn personally. Find me at Randall Thompson on LinkedIn. And yeah, I think on our website there's a thing that you can click and get 35% off our website right now. So
Very nice.
probably do that before Black Friday. It's early Black Friday, so I guess
Cool.
you got about a week to do it. Or I don't even know when this is going to air, but it's maybe it's already going to be gone. But either way, dugoutmugs.com.
Well, we'll post the discount for sure on our site. And I want to just give Todd a little shout out too, because I've been interacting with him and setting this whole thing up. And Todd's been really great. So he's definitely an asset to your team and such a great guy. And
He's a
yeah,
perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. Is he fits into the culture perfectly, and he is really passionate about it, and we're blessed that we get to pursue growing this every single day with Todd. And I'm not just saying that to pump the old Toddster's tires. I really mean that. He's great.
yeah. Oh, and I didn't ask you about your charities. You also support a lot of charities, and you've raised a lot of funds for some charities. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So cheers to charity is what we call it. When the company really started finding stride, and there were some profits to work with. Uh, Something that I'm passionate about is the baseball community and giving back to the baseball community, um, and that's what we do. So, not great at talking about numbers and all that stuff, but we've given away thousands of dollars to different charities and Mariano Rivera's foundation, Big Poppy's foundation, and beyond that, like there are big names and big numbers, big-ish numbers that we're sending to these charities. But also, I always just kind of just love to keep an eye out for anybody that's in need within the baseball community, and just like to, if a kid needs a mug or a kid needs a glove or something along those lines, I like to just keep my eye out for those opportunities and do what I can do whenever I can do it. So uh yeah, that's cheers to charity, I guess.
That's awesome. Well, that's so fantastic. And I mean, you're doing so well and you do so many great things and you're such a humble person. It's such a pleasure and an honor to meet you. And you're truly
Likewise.
blessed. You're truly a blessed man and you got a lot of great things going. Proud of you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I completely agree. Incredibly blessed. So yeah, thank you for helping us spread the word.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on the show. We want to remind everybody to watch, link, share, subscribe, comment, and have an amazing week. Everybody, we'll see you later.